Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Big Doug and Carmi Show, your one-stop shop for all things Commanders. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification button so that you never miss an episode like today's episode with Adam Ronis. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here, man. Thanks for the invite and ready to chop it up.
Yeah, so this time of year, we are deep into fantasy. We love the best balls. We also love chatting fantasy football of all sorts. Adam, how did you get into this industry?
Well, I've always been into sports since I was a young kid, and then I realized, man, my body's not going to take me to the pro level, unfortunately. So I wanted to stay somehow doing sports. That's my passion. It has been since I was a little kid. So I first got into journalism. I always wanted to do radio growing up in New York, listening to WFAN, but I got into print journalism first in high school, started writing for local papers, and then my college did not have a radio station. I'm from Queens College. I'm the most famous graduate. Jerry Seinfeld is second behind me. He's also from Queens College. So I decided to start writing, and that's what I did. But I always wanted to do radio, and I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I think it was 2002, 2 years after I graduated college. And Kevin Burkhardt, who works for Fox, was one of my instructors. So I did some local radio, but fantasy was always big for me, and I didn't think it would be something that turns into a career. But when I was working at Newsday in New York, they had me start doing a fantasy baseball column every week and fantasy football. From there, I got discovered. Scott Angle, fantasy Hall of Famer, he reached out to me and I started writing for Roto Experts. And then in 2010, SiriusXM started to do a fantasy channel, and Scott asked me to be his co-host on the morning show. So I did that, and that was in 2010. And the station actually just turned 15 years old, and I've been on it since day one. So I was always big into fantasy, but I always thought it would be, regular sports that would be my career path. But fantasy blew up, betting blew up. So I've been doing fantasy sports and betting for probably 20 plus years. So I've been all sorts of companies, and right now I'm with Fantasy Life. And I do a show with Kendall Valenzuela on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Actually, beginning this Monday, July 7th, we go back to weekdays, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern. And then during the football season, I'll also be on Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern. And I am not a morning person at all. But when you find something you love, you do it, because when we first started the fantasy channel, they were like, yeah, so we're going to do 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. I said, nah, 8 a.m., man, not 7 a.m. And they said, it's going to be 7 a.m. or you're out. And I said, all right, I'll do it. It actually wound up doing some 6 a.m. shows. So, and even doing those, I still didn't sleep. I would go to sleep 1, 2 a.m. Sometimes I would stay up all night. But, when you're passionate about something and you love it, you find a way to do it. So for those that are dating out there, people start giving you excuses. They're lying. They don't want to be with you. When someone is passionate about something and they want it done, they will find a way to do it, no matter how much time. I probably outed myself. Some of my exes now, probably like, wait a second. Hopefully they're not listening, though. But yeah, if you're passionate about something, you're going to find a way to do it. So, I've always been passionate about sports and fantasy sports and betting. And even if this wasn't my career, I would still be devoting a lot of time to this.
Do you have a favorite way to play fantasy football?
There's so many different ways. So my favorite format is a 12-team league, full point PPR, and I like deeper starting lineups. So 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 2 flex spots, a tight end. Still play with kickers and defenses in some leagues. My home league does IDP, but I like the deeper starting lineup because if you know the player pool well, you should get rewarded for finding that guy that emerged in the late rounds. Like 2 years ago, I had Kyron Williams on every team. And that's why I had one of my best seasons ever. Last year, it wasn't as good. And a lot of that had to do with, I'm someone who drafts wide receivers heavy early. And I had guys like Chris Godwin, Rashee Rice, Chris Olave that go down. So that kind of hurt me. Still had a good year, but not as good as 2 years ago when a lot of things broke right. But I like the deeper format where you get the extra flex spot, start 3 receivers because I want to be rewarded if I find those guys, those gems in the double-digit rounds. I don't want to be forced to have to decide to start all these great players. And that happens a lot in these 10-team leagues or 12-team leagues with 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 1 flex. I just don't enjoy those as much. So, and now, we're in a time where there's so many different formats. And, one thing I've said as I've given advice over the years, it doesn't matter if I don't like your league. It's all about you guys. Whatever you enjoy playing in, that's what should matter. It shouldn't matter what anyone else does. Don't let someone make fun of you for playing in an 8-team league or a 10-team league. I've done that in the past. I'm guilty of it, but it's all about you guys and what you enjoy playing in. There's so many different formats. I dip into the high stakes leagues too. FFWC I like playing in, NFFC. So, a variety of formats and, of course, the home leagues with your friends and the drafts in person. So, I typically do 10 to 15 leagues a year. I always say I'm going to cut back and then it never happens. But the thing with best ball is you can do unlimited, right? Because you don't have to do any management. So, and it's good prep too for the season. That's what I like about the best balls. It really prepares you for the season.
I agree. And add to that note, we're about to jump into this draft in about 30 seconds. I think best ball offers the best. I love best ball for fantasy because I think the most fun part about fantasy is the draft process. So, you draft your players, you kind of, you reap what you sow with what you draft over here. We're walking into a super flex league. We're at a 3rd overall selection. All of the best ball drafts I've been doing, Adam, have been pretty chalk for the most part. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. What is your thoughts walking into the draft right now?
Yeah, it's Lamar Jackson, Allen, Daniels for me. Usually if I get a pick that early, I do go quarterback, and I wait on the second quarterback though. That's typically what I do. I play in an industry super flex league. And I've had a lot of success in it, won 2 of the last 3 years. And typically what I do is take 1 quarterback early and I wait on that second quarterback.
So Lamar so we're on the clock right now. So Jaden or Jalen Hurts or Burrow, if you want a quarterback.
Do you guys want to do a quarterback? I mean, I usually like to. I would probably go, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah,
very appropriate for our conversation. Perfect.
Yeah, unfortunately, you brought a Cowboys fan onto the show.
Oh, geez. Okay,
I know. I noticed that in your profile picture, but we take all kinds here on the show.
Good. Yeah, it's been pretty disappointing being a Cowboys fan lately, though.
So Adam, my question to you is, I mean, in a super flex league, it's prudent to take quarterbacks in the first round, especially the top 5 picks are going to fly off the board. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, typically that's what I do. I don't think you have to, but if you do have that early pick and you're getting that elite quarterback, especially one that gives you that rushing floor, I think it makes sense to do it. In the back half of the draft, it could change a little bit. You kind of have to go with the flow of the draft too. But yeah, typically if I'm picking early in the top 5, top 6, I'll take one. And then, but I'll wait on that second quarterback. I think this year too, there's a lot of good ones. The key is to kind of watch where some teams take that third quarterback a little too early. And I got to remember this is, redraft. I'm totally cool with that because you can get guys off the waiver wire. In this format, though, I think, you want to try and get that third quarterback for sure. Because in redraft, I have no problem not taking a third quarterback. I've done it many times, and there's always guys that emerge off the waiver wire.
That makes sense. I agree.
As our guest, Adam, the final decision on all these drafts will leave up to you. If you're stuck in like that 10 hole here in these super flexes, what is the best strategy when basically the top half of the quarterbacks are gone?
Yeah, I think you can go with a different position for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if everyone's going to push down the elite running backs, receivers, then you can go in that direction. And you just have to have your targets at quarterback in the middle to late rounds. The tricky part is like, if everyone else is starting to go heavy on quarterback, you could find yourself in a situation where, your quarterbacks are not great. But we saw last year it can work. I mean, you get Baker Mayfield late, Sam Darnold late, Bo Nix. You got to hit on the right ones, obviously. That's the big key is finding those quarterbacks that hit late. But I think, I have no problem with what some of these teams did here at the back end. If all the value is sucked away, go in a different direction.
Mm-hmm. We're coming up on the clock in about 2 picks. Running backs flying off the board. I want to ask you about a running back in a moment, but we'll go back onto the big board right here. We're about 1 pick away. I know you're a wide receiver guy. Puka Nakua's on top of the board. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devon Achane, Nico Collins. We're all on the clock right now. Who do you like right there in our second selection?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with receiver here and go with Puka Nacua.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I believe he just got taken off the board.
Okay,
should we go Amon-Ra? We have 5 seconds.
Nah, go HN then.
Oh, A-Chain? I got it. Let's see real quick. Let me see. Go. I think we might have missed him. Let's see what happened. The 20-second clock flies. Let's see what we get there.
Yes, he does.
All right. They gave us Caleb Williams. I don't know if I like that at all, but we'll see.
That's terrible.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
All right. We'll put some in the queue. So we'll put Amon-Ra in the queue. We'll put a couple other in there. So why would you go A-Chain over Amon-Ra? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I just think A-Chain has a huge role in this offense. The offense is condensed to several players, and with Jonnu Smith leaving, that takes a big target share away. A-Chain, he can catch 70, 80 passes. We saw last year, even with just 203 carries, he got the job done. So, I think he's one of the top running backs, and then it falls off a little bit. So, Nico Collins is still there too, right?
We're back on the clock. Yeah, so Nico Collins is in our queue. Drake London as well. We have about 13 seconds.
Yeah.
AJ Brown, McConkey.
Yeah, I think you go with Nico Collins here. I
like Nico.
Yeah, when he's been healthy, he's just put up ridiculous numbers. He's got the rapport with CJ Stroud. Last year, even behind a bad offensive line, he still put up elite numbers. So, yeah, I would go with Collins there.
Are you worried that
juggle the guys? Adam, how do you typically juggle the guys that have had injury concerns in the past? Are you a McCaffrey guy, or are you one of these guys that's like, I'm never drafting McCaffrey ever?
Well, so last year I was completely off of McCaffrey at number one. I told people, I was stunned at how many people were basically, oh, yeah, it's no big deal. It's just a preseason. And I understand that the 49ers kind of misled us in a lot of ways. But to me, the problem I had with McCaffrey last year, if you look at his history, whenever he has these massive workloads, he does not stay healthy the next season. So I didn't want him at one. I avoided him. It worked out. I think it's different with every player. Is it a chronic injury? Is the same injury all the time? So I don't think you can ever go, well, that guy burned me last year, I'm not going back to him. I think that's just irrational. You have sometimes you have to have convenient amnesia and go right back to these guys, especially if they present value. So I think it comes down to each individual, but I think it's a mistake if you go, well, I'm not taking that guy. He burned me last year, because it's a new season. You have to look at the environment, the coaching staff, what was the injury, what's the recovery period. Because we've seen guys throughout the NFL in their career, they say, oh, they're injury prone, and then all of a sudden they stay healthy 3-4 straight years, and it changes.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned usage, which is interesting, because I'm in a lot of fantasy scouts look at usage more. I'm thinking like of a Saquon Barkley who had so much usage last year. Does that scare you for the next year, or some guys are just built different?
It does scare me when you just look at the history. And also, we have not seen a running back repeat as fantasy number one since LaDainian Tomlinson in the early 2000s. Now, Barkley, if there's anyone that can do it, I think it is Barkley, only because it's a great team. He didn't really take big hits last year. He did get banged up at times, didn't miss much time. But I think there is concern, and I'm seeing it in drafts. Like, I saw a draft the other day, Barkley went 9th overall. So I think people do have that concern just based on the history.
Hey, Adam, sorry to interrupt you real quick. We're about to be on the board in about one pick. We have 2 quarterbacks, 1 wide receiver, about 11 seconds. Are you siding running back right now, wide receiver? I see A.J. Brown just got taken off the board.
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Stafford.
Yeah, we're definitely not going quarterback for sure. Let me see what else we have at receiver.
We have about 7 seconds. It's flying.
Oh, go with Jonathan Taylor then. I didn't know we were on the clock. Jonathan Taylor.
All right, we get him. All right, perfect. Sorry. What we should do is a couple picks before. Let's kind of a little cue set up. We'll get it set up right now. Actually, let's do that now, because we're about to hit the turn. So we got Jonathan Taylor. What players are you looking at to put into our queue right now? So we're good at quarterback.
Let me see what we have at running back, receiver. I mean,
receiver. This is mixed running back and wide receiver. So we got a couple if you'd like. You got Kyron's up there, Breece Hall, Higgins, Marvin Harrison's up there, Terry McLaurin, Smith and Jigba.
All right.
We're actually about to be on the clock again.
Well, the elite tight ends. What?
Tight ends. Let's take a look at them real quick. Kittle, Porta, Hawkinson are still there. 14 seconds.
Go to receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. All right. I like that. Over Harrison. Interesting. Why would you go that direction?
I mean, I would if you wanted to take Harrison, I'm cool with that too.
No, I'm just curious. I like your thoughts.
Just a little. I mean, look, I think Harrison will bounce back. It's all about the connection with Kyler Murray. You know, Drew Petzing as offensive coordinator, I don't know what they were doing last year because they just didn't utilize Harrison in the right way to make things successful for him. There was a lot of Trey McBride, but I do think Harrison should have a better year this year, and I'm more open to it. I mean, he was a guy last year going late first, early second round, so that was a guy that definitely disappointed in a big way.
I agree. I feel like he went really high last year.
And with what we've got going on out in San Francisco, like there's a lot of talk about Bowers and McBride. I think Kittle's in line for a big year.
Oh, definitely. Look, to me, George Kittle I think he's better than Kelsey. The thing is that you don't see the usage. Like Kelsey has been featured in the Chiefs offense for years. Kittle is not. He had like one season of 140 targets, like I think his second year, put up huge numbers. Even last year, he still didn't even get 100 targets. So this year he could be featured more though. Remember, Deebo Samuel's gone. Brandon Ayuk's gone. They have talent with, Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, but maybe they feature Kittle a little bit more. I did see too, they said they would have him block a little bit less and maybe run some more routes. So yeah, Kittle to me, like in the 4th, 5th round. Now maybe in a super flex he drops a little bit, but I think if you're telling me, hey, Kittle or in the 4th or 5th or Bowers in the 1st, 2nd, give me Kittle every time.
Yeah, he just got taken off the board at 6'2".
Yeah.
So we have about 3 picks away. What are you thinking? I put Laporta and Kelsey in the queue for you. I don't know what other positions you're looking at.
So. Let me see what else the starting lineups in this. Is it 2 receivers or 3?
I believe it's 3. So we have Nico Collins and Higgins right now.
Let me see what we have at receiver.
All right. Ted McMillan, DJ Moore, Jameson Williams, DK Metcalf.
All right, and let me see running back. I did see a running back I do like there, but I don't know.
Kenneth Walker, Kamara, Mixon, Connor, Trayvon Henderson, David Montgomery.
All right, I think are we on the clock? No, right?
And we will be right now. We have 20 seconds.
All right, go to receiver.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with DK Metcalf here.
All right, let's do it.
If Aaron Rodgers gives them anything, he's been known in the past, right, to just love targeting the number 1 receiver. And they don't got a number 2 wide receiver, so he could get peppered with targets this year.
They paid him a lot of money. He's going to get, even though it's a team that wants to run the football, I mean, a lot of the passes got to go to him. We saw them working out together in the offseason as well. So, yeah, I think he's in store for a big year.
All right, back on the clock. We only have 1 running back. I don't know if that's where you want to go. We can go wide receiver, tight end.
Walker went?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay.
5 seconds.
Go with oh man.
We still run out because Laporta's been taken. It's all good. I know you weren't a big fan of his. He actually let me down last year, Laporta. I was disappointed by him.
You let everybody down last year.
I think he'll be fine, but I didn't want him in this spot for sure.
Yeah. We can always reflect when we're all said and done. Things happen. Let's throw a couple in the queue, guys. Well, we have some downtime. We have about 15 picks away. What running back are you interested here? What wide receiver you're interested in? We can kind of put them together now.
Yeah, I think you could put they're starting to go too. I think Travion Henderson went.
I believe so.
Yeah, RJ Harvey.
Let's take a look. People are loving Harvey. I actually liked him a lot too going into the draft. I'll put him on the queue. I think he's already taken as well. Wow. Running back's flying off the board.
Yeah, I guess put Jenkins in the queue. Oh, he just went too. All right.
Yeah, Jesus.
Well, there's one flex spot and 3 receivers, right?
Yep.
All right. Don't have to take a running back either. What do we got at wide receiver?
Xavier Worthy, Pickens. We have Ridley, Waddle, Flowers. There's some good wide receivers.
I put Waddle and Ridley in the queue.
Okay. Let's see now. Waddle, Ridley.
Is your Dallas offense going to put up numbers this year?
If Dak Prescott is healthy, they should. I mean, I don't see any reason why not. Every time he's been healthy, they put up numbers. They don't really have a strong running game. And I think the addition of Pickens was really big for this offense. They didn't really have a deep threat, someone to threat vertically. And with Pickens there, they do have to account for that. And I know we're all worried about him being on his we know he's a
That's
prima
behavior.
donna and his attitude, but I mean, so far it's early. Everything that I've seen and heard has been good, and he's playing for a contract, so hopefully we get the best out of him.
All right, Caleb
If
Johnson
he
off the
plays,
board,
if he
Waddle's off the
plays
board.
well, do you think they'll re-sign him if he plays well?
Yeah, I do.
All right, 3 picks away. RQ got swallowed up. Things are flying off the board. Zay Flowers, Juwan Jennings, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Roma Dunze top on the board. Brian Robinson, Jordan Addison.
All right, yeah, Jenkins went, Montgomery went, right?
Yep.
And okay. Pickens is still there?
Now he's gone too.
Wow, okay. Sutton's gone.
Sutton, I believe, is gone too.
Waddle's gone.
Waddle's gone.
Travis
People
Hunter.
People are sniping. Hunter's gone.
All right, go back to wide receiver.
Flowers, Adunze, Addison, Olave, Godwin are at the top. And Debo on the bottom. We have 7 seconds.
Go with Judy.
Judy, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I know last year the first half wasn't good with Deshaun Watson, and then he was a stud in the second half. I know there's some questions a little bit with the quarterback play, but they just need to get him the football.
Mm-hmm.
I love the pick. I've got a ton of Jerry Judy stock this year.
All right, back on the board in 1 pick. We have 4 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, 2 QBs.
All right, go to running back.
All right. Brian Robinson, Jordan Mason, Travis Etienne, Jalen Warren, Tyron Tracy, Najee Harris. Kind of slim.
Yeah, it is. I guess we'll go with Brian Robinson.
He just got snatched up.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we're taking a risk here, but let's go with ETN. I mean, the one thing is we see he kind of fits the offense that they want to run. And they have talked him up a little bit over the last few weeks. There is Tank Bigsby there, and they brought in Tootin. So that's why he's going this late. There is a little bit of a risk, but hey, if you wait on running backs, this is what you do. But you take a bunch of shots at running backs later
I agree. Are you a believer in Tootin? Like, who do you think's going to emerge as the RB1 there?
I think it's a tough call, man. I mean, I think ETN again in the passing game, that's his strength, and he kind of fits that role in what they want to do in this offense. So I lean towards him now, but it also could be a committee where they use 3 guys.
Sure.
I think that's where we're at though with a lot of these running backs we're looking at now. They're kind of stuck in committees at this point.
Are you surprised that Deebo Samuel is still available? Like, I know as a Commander fan, we're kind of curious about his production this year.
Well, so I was completely off Debo going into the year, but I am surprised. See, at this cost, I think you have to consider it. I thought he would go higher, but if you look fantasy-wise, he's really had 1 big season. He's a better real-life player than fantasy. But I think it has gotten ridiculous because I was expecting Debo to be like top 25, top 30, and then I see he's like 38. I'm like, what is going on here? So I think you have to be open to it because, again, this is best ball too. You don't need him to be great the entire year. You just need a few massive weeks, which he's capable of doing.
Absolutely.
He also dealt with the pneumonia last year and the injuries, but that's been a factor. He also is older. So I'm more on the side of, I don't love him, but it's all about price. And I think at these prices, I think it's worth taking a shot on him.
Yeah, we have about 4 picks. I have him on the top of the queue right now. I don't know if there's any other players you want to consider to put on the board.
Yeah, let's see.
He just got snatched up. I'll put Jaden Reed, Tyron Tracy.
Yeah, because then we're going to hit the turn again right after that, right?
Yep, 1 pick away. What position are you looking at, Adam?
Yeah, it's running back or receiver. We're set at quarterback and tight end for now. So
Pearsall, Tracy.
Yeah, is I guess Pearsall's there, right?
Yep. Or he just got taken, actually. It's so crazy. We're always one.
Good day for now.
You had Mathew Golden in there, right?
He got snatched up too.
All right.
We have 5 seconds.
Go with Downs.
Downs. All right. Sounds good. They're flying off the board, man. I don't know what's going on. It's a crazy day today. All right. So maybe we can set up a couple before our next pick. Looking at running back, wide receiver. What are you thinking at right here?
Yeah, I think running back here because we got only 2, right?
Yep. We had Taylor and Etienne, Harris, Scatabo, Charbonnet, Javonte Williams, Stevenson are on top of the board. Dobbins, Spears, Tootin.
You know what? I would take Spears here. I mean, I like Pollard a lot, but Spears, when he's been on the field, has been pretty good. He had the concussion late last year, but if one of these guys goes down, the other could really take over. And even if they split, I think it could be decent numbers. So I think Spears is. All
right, let's do it. Sweet. Yeah, people are kind of high on the Titans. They say that if there's going to be any breakout team this year, it might be the Titans because you never know with that whole Cam Ward effect and having a rookie quarterback. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I think they'll be better, but I don't see them having a breakout season. I mean, the quarterback play was terrible last year with Will Levis. So you just need an average quarterback, and they could be pretty good. They do have some pieces there with Calvin Ridley. I like the backs in the backfield. So you needed a change at the quarterback position. So as long as Cam Ward is solid, they'll be better. But I don't see a breakout season from this offense.
Mm-hmm.
How deep, Adam, how deep into the weeds do you get for these things? Like Ian Hartitz was on the other day, and he's breaking down like which guys have buys and the teams that, in the last 2 weeks of the season that'll have guys that'll be breaking out. Or are you in that deep into the weeds, or how do you attack this thing?
Yeah, you have to look at that. I mean, it's kind of tough here where I'm sitting to see the buys and everything. But yeah, you want to look at that for sure. I mean, bye weeks are important. And, if you can get the stacks, that's certainly something that you want to do as well. And look, the playoff weeks are important, but a lot of things change between now and then. Defenses that we think are going to be really good turn out to be bad and vice versa. So, but yeah, if you can get that weeks 15 to 17, if you're looking at the schedule, I think it's definitely something to take under consideration. Any slight edge that you think you can get, you want to do in a format like this.
All right, so we're about 7 picks away. Let's kind of gather our thoughts real quick. What are you thinking? I see Rashid Shaheed on the board. Jaden Higgins is on the board.
Yeah, those
Jonnu Smith.
Not Jonnu Smith. No, do not like his situation now.
I'll put Rashid Shaheed in the queue. I know he can be explosive sometimes. Keon Coleman's here.
Did Higgins go?
He's
there. Yeah, throw him in the
I'll
queue.
put him in the queue. Okay, perfect.
You could throw Ray Davis in the queue.
Okay. Bateman, Kincaid, Loveland's on there. Rashad White, Jaden Blue.
Yeah, throw Blue in the queue. I think he could be interesting.
Okay.
I was going to say, Adam, at what round are you looking more at dart throws rather than I think this guy can be this?
I mean, the last few rounds, I think, and especially again in this format too, you don't need 15 big weeks out of these players, so some of these guys might only have 3-4 big weeks, and that's fine at this point. You hope obviously to get a guy that, does it all year round. That's the ideal scenario.
We're on the clock, so I don't know if you want to pick one from the queue or
go with Higgins.
All right.
Yeah,
I like it.
They're talking him up. He could have a big role here.
I was going to ask you about that. So we got Nico Collins and Higgins. I guess that's good to have one or the other, right? Because they're basically going to blow up a little bit there. Are they going to eat into each other by any chance, or what are you thinking about that? I guess it doesn't matter in best ball, I guess, right?
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, the Texans have a big week. They both go off. I mean, that's going to help.
All right, back on the board in about 20 seconds. We have Blue and Keon Coleman in the queue. I don't know if we'll add anyone else to that.
Let me see what else we have at running back.
Rashad White, Sherendo, Algier, Eckler.
I would take Garendo.
All right. Just in case if McCaffrey goes down or something?
Yeah, look, there's no lock that McCaffrey stays healthy. We saw Garendo come in last year and have a nice role. So, a lot of these running backs that were taken in this area, they need an injury or something to happen in front of them. So that's just a real good insurance policy. And the Niners, had a lot of injuries last year. They have a last place schedule. I mean, they have one of the easiest schedules, so they're in a good spot.
Makes sense. Real quick, we only have one tight end. We have Sam Laporta. So what do you do about that? Once the elite ones are gone, you kind of just punt on it, or do you kind of stack them up? We have Pitts, we have Ertz, and that's on the board. I don't know if they're interesting to you.
What do we got at quarterback?
Let's take a look. Shador, Jalen Monroe, Kirk Cousins, Spencer Rattler's kind of weak right now.
We a lot of the
Winston.
they're gone. Yeah, we're gonna have to hope our two stay healthy.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to add to the queue? What position are you looking at here?
Let me see what's at tight end.
All right, tight end. Ertz, Jaceki, Jake Ferguson, Chigakonkwo, Jatavian Sanders, some interesting ones. Theo Johnson.
Yeah, I think Ferguson would be the guy here.
I'll put him in the queue.
And let's see. I did not Fryermuth anymore with that situation, man. That is just you could put Hunter Henry in there too.
Okay.
And Brenton Strange.
Mm-hmm. No interest for Ertz? I'm curious about that.
I mean, he would be below those guys for me. I mean, he just had a great run at the end of the year. You know, I don't know if he can repeat that. He's older. He's not a guy that is not dynamic after the catch. It's catch it and fall. So you're really relying. I mean, well, then again, we do have Jaden Daniels, but I mean, I don't know if that's a huge hookup there.
We call him No Yak Zach around here in DC.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is. Hollywood Brown and Cedric Tillman. Put those guys in there.
All right.
I really like Cedric Tillman a lot. He was good last year before he got hurt.
He is explosive. I agree. Luther Burden, no interest in him?
Yeah, I would throw him in the queue too.
All right.
Because, I mean, I know they have a lot of mouths there, but they drafted him early, man. You know, usually if you spend picks on guys like that, you kind of have plans for them.
Yeah,
it's actually, you know,
well, we got Caleb Williams though.
Yeah, he just went though, right?
Who?
No, I'm saying we got Caleb Williams. Oh, I'm saying we drafted Caleb Williams on one of those.
Yeah, but Luther Burden went. He went, right?
He just went. Yeah, Keon Coleman, Luther Burden, Kirk, and Henry are all going now.
Yeah, damn it. All right, so we're coming up, right?
Yeah, we're coming up in two picks. We have Strange, Hollywood Brown, and Cedric Tillman in the queue. Legette's on the board. Ertz on the board. Hollywood Brown just got taken off.
Of course.
So I don't know if you're set on Strange or Tillman, but we also have the rest of the board to look at as well.
Yeah, I think we need a tight end here.
Okay. Let's go take a look. We have 18 seconds, so we'll settle on Strange. But we have Strange, Ertz, Fryermuth, Otten, Taylor. Strange still number one for you?
Yeah, go with Strange.
All right. What are your thoughts on Jacksonville's offense? I feel like Trevor Lawrence is kind of like being critiqued every single year, and people don't really know if he has that high ceiling that everyone thought he would have.
I think this could be the year for him with Liam Cohen in there. I know a lot of people just kind of buried them, but you bring in Travis Hunter, you got Brian Thomas. I think this is the make or break year for him. So I'm actually willing to invest in him as my second quarterback. You know, in leagues with 20 roster spots and redraft, I'll take two quarterbacks. If I have 16 roster spots, I won't, because I think your bench is thinner. Yeah. But if I'm in a league where I miss out on the elite quarterback and I try to pair two together, Lawrence is in the conversation for me.
There you go. We're on the board. We have Tillman in the queue, but we have the whole board ahead of us. 14 seconds.
Yeah, let's take Tillman, man. I think he can have some big weeks. We saw it last year. I mean, he's a real talented kid. Obviously, the quarterback situation is something that is a little cloudy there now. But
very cloudy.
Yeah, I think he could have some big weeks, though. So I would take him.
Gotcha. Nick Chubb is an interesting one, too. I'll put him in the queue just for the heck of it. What are your thoughts on him in Houston?
Yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, I was out on him last year. I couldn't believe how many people were drafting him in the 8th round last year. People have too much optimism when it comes to injuries. You got to remember, no matter what the team tells you, add another few weeks to it.
That's true.
Players, too, they're always optimistic. Yeah, I'll be back. I'll be fine. There's always setbacks. So guys that are injured going into the year, I tend to shy away from. Like Brandon Ayuk, they're already saying he could be in the year on the PUP list. Like, so why are you going to take him if it costs an early pick? So yeah, I tend to stay away from those guys. I'm rooting for Nick Chubb. I think he was one of the best pure running backs in the NFL before the injury, but he's had multiple ACL injuries, multiple knee injuries, and he's 29 now, getting older. Like, it usually does not get better, and he did not look good last year. But I'm rooting for him, but he's not a player I'm interested.
I agree. So really quickly, the 15th round, running backs are flying off the board. Dylan Sampson, Roshan Johnson, Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Braylon Allen, all off the board. So
yeah, some good picks. Roshan Johnson, I like that pick there.
Yeah.
You know, in case Swift doesn't work out there, I think he's a good one to target late. But I have my eye on a couple.
Yeah, we can go back to the board if you want. Throw a couple on here if you want.
Yeah.
Tell me where you want to look.
A running back, look for Will Shipley. There he is. Throw him in the queue.
Okay.
Let's do. You could throw Marshawn Lloyd in the queue.
Okay.
Brashard Smith from Kansas City.
Got it. Yeah, people are talking about him, actually. I keep hearing about him.
Look, I think Isaiah Pacheco could be good. I was into him last year. I think you have to write off everything you saw from him last year. He shouldn't have been back. I think he came back too early. He was clearly not 100%. He's put on some weight in the offseason. Andy Reid's been talking him up a little bit. So I'm confident that he'll be good, especially based on his price. But, what if it's just not the same after the injury? I think Smith's a guy that might emerge at some point during the season, and become a significant player. I do think Kansas City is going to go back to opening it up and passing quite a bit. They have the weapons now. I know Mahomes' numbers have been down the last 2 years, but when they're healthy, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, I mean, that's an explosive trio of receivers. And then Kelsey, I don't think he's done, but he's not the same player. But you don't need him to be that guy with those other receivers. They're going to draw so much attention. Kelsey can just catch his 7-yard passes or whatever it is. But I think, especially if the offensive line holds up, they have a real opportunity to maybe change the complexion of this offense, because their defense has been so good, they haven't had to open it up.
All right, here we go. We're on the board in about 2 seconds. We have Shipley, Lloyd, and Brashard Smith in the queue, but we have the whole board ahead of us. 20 seconds.
Let's go with Shipley. They're talking him up too, that he's going to have a pretty big role. And then we all know if something happens to Barkley, Shipley steps up into that role. So I think he's a really good flyer to take late.
Got it.
Yeah, I guess there's we're going to be one of those teams with 2 quarterbacks, huh? Kind of.
We can look into one if you want. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
We have Cousins.
Who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Saints this year?
Shuck, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we have one now. We're back on the clock. I don't know if you want any of these quarterbacks or Marshawn Lloyd, Brashard Smith, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I guess you want to. Do we take a chance on? Oh man, I guess Milroe. You want to take a chance on him?
Let's have some fun. Why not? See what happens.
Injury,
Roll the
right?
dice. Injury. You never know. Or we have a Sam Darnold regression. Jalen Milroe takes over. See what happens.
What else do we have? A receiver on the board.
Let's take a look. Wide receiver. Wandale Robinson, Thielen, Michael Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, throw Michael Wilson into the queue.
Okay.
He should be
Thornton. That's an interesting one. Slayton.
Yeah, you could throw Thornton into the queue.
And speed.
And Robinson.
Wandale Robinson?
Yeah.
Okay.
The offense for Las Vegas could be kind of interesting, I think.
They could. I mean, obviously, with Genti there, you would think that they want to rely on the run a little bit. And look, Geno Smith's been solid. You don't need him to be great, but he's been solid the last couple of years, as long as he gets some time to throw.
MVS is definitely he's a best ball champion because he's just every once, 3 times a year he blows up, but he's such a frustrating player to have on your team. I don't know if you want him or not.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys I like a little bit better.
Okay. You want to look at any running backs anymore, or what are your thoughts? Tight ends potentially?
Yeah, what other tight ends are out there?
Juwan Johnson, Theo Johnson.
Yeah, throw Juwan Johnson in the queue.
Okay.
I know the offense has a lot of question marks, but he's a really good tight end.
Yeah, Darren Waller, the Raptors back.
Probably is being a rough year for the Giants, but I kind of like the upside of Theo Johnson too.
Yeah, I'm open to that. I think you could throw him in the queue too.
Okay.
I think those would be. Yeah, I think Theo Johnson's the pick, and then if he's not there, Juwan Johnson.
Okay. We have some.
This is a 20 round, right?
I believe so. Yeah. 20 rounds. Yep.
Yeah, so we just got thrown off by taking that second quarterback early. But hey, I mean, if Caleb Williams, this is the make or break year for him, man. Everything is set for him. The coaching staff changed. You got Ben Johnson coming in. They brought in Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, DJ Moore, Rome Dude. It is set up for him to crush. There is no excuses. I mean, some of the mistakes were on him last year. He took too many sacks. He's got to make better decisions. We know the coaching staff wasn't great, didn't set him up for success, but this is it for Caleb Williams. It is all there for him to have success. So there's no more excuses.
Hey, we're on the clock and our cue's all gone. So I don't know what you want to do.
All right, go to tight end real quick. Let's see. They're all gone.
Yeah.
I guess take a chance on
We're gonna run out of time.
all right, go receiver. All right, just pick someone. Who do we get?
I don't know. We got Kareem Hunt. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
that's not good. Yeah.
All right.
Oh man, how was Kareem Hunt even on the list?
Yeah,
think
he's
it's
still
top of the
there. He's
board.
still
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Here we have one pick away, so let's kind of plan that out real quick. We're on the clock.
Yeah, go to receiver.
Okay. Keenan Allen, Lockett, Coker, Devontae Wicks. Interesting one. Roman Wilson.
I would take a chance.
5 seconds.
Go with Amanior from Tennessee.
Let's do it. Got him. Cool. All right, so we have 18 picks away. That 20-second clock's fast. We gotta get that 30-second clock.
Yeah,
live.
So, yeah, it's
Adam,
it's
are you doing Scott Fishbowl, Adam?
Yeah, I am. I'm doing the slow drafts. They are doing one live in New York. I might make an appearance there. I gotta figure out when the day is and see what my schedule is, but I'll be doing the slow draft that starts on Monday.
Nice.
George and I are both picking from the 1. Do you have any suggestions?
I'm gonna be honest. I have to get started on my research there because that is so different from everything that I play.
So different. So
Yeah,
So like to me, being honest, like I want to win everything I'm in, but like that is more for charity. That's kind of to have a conversation and kick off the season. There's no money on the line, so it's not. I'm just being honest. Like I don't mean to say that, but like it's just I'm not gonna. I don't have the time to invest to deep dive in. I know Fantasy Life has a cheat sheet on it and everything, so I'm gonna look at that. To be honest, if they're gonna put in the work for me, and
right.
I'll see. But I know you could start like 9 running backs, and
it's crazy.
Kendall Valenzuela was talking to me about it, and she said she might not go with any quarterbacks. I know she did her draft in Vegas. Yeah,
it's super flex, though. That's why I'm surprised by that.
But apparently you don't need to. There's like a whole thing where
I was looking at every draft you see of them posting, like the results. They're like, nobody's taking quarterback early. I've got to go do the research too, because I was surprised by that, because I'm with you, George. I figured in a super flex, like quarterbacks want to fly off the board, but that's not the way it's been working.
Yeah, I think it's 3.5 reception points. It's I think it's 2.5 for reception and then a 3.5 for a tight end bonus, from what I gather. So like, tight ends might be you keep bringing it up though. Like having an elite tight end might be the way to go.
Really, well, there's got to you got to get points per carry if running backs are going to fly off the board like that, when tight ends are getting 3.5 points per reception and everybody else getting 2. There's got to be a points per carry this year, I bet.
That's what it is. That's why the running backs are going so early.
Yep.
All right, we are 3 picks away. Is there a position you want to look at, Adam?
I mean, we have 2 tight ends, right?
Oh, yeah, with Laporta and Strange. We can look at another one if you like.
Yeah, if there's someone there. I mean, I think I saw Fannon's name there, right?
I can come with a queue. Yeah.
Keenan Allen went.
Let me take a look. I believe so. Yeah, I don't see him.
What about Pat Bryant, Diami Brown?
Diami Brown. Let's take a look. Are we still there? We're actually on the clock right now. Do you want to take Fannin? We have about 10 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's take a look. All right, so we'll see how that things shake up. And what we'll do afterward, Adam, we'll pull up the big board. We'll see how things kind of went awry or things that went well for us and see how that broke down. I think we got caught off guard with the Caleb Williams with the with the fast pick there. But let's see how it goes. Let's pull it up right now.
Is Ben Johnson a bigger gain for the Bears or a bigger loss for the Lions, Adam?
I mean, definitely a huge gain for the Bears. It is a loss for the Lions. I'm interested to see if they kind of keep some of the similar concepts there, because it worked and you have a lot of the same personnel. But, I mean, the Bears needed to do something. I mean, it's a way bigger gain for them after what we saw last year. And they basically committed to Caleb Williams being that franchise quarterback. They got to get results, because what we saw last year wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at the board. It's all said and done. I think we so we're looking at this. We walked away with Jane Daniels with the first pick. It's my first investment in Jane Daniels in 2 years. I feel like he's always taken whenever I want to select him in my drafts. We got Caleb Williams in the second round. That's definitely, in my perspective, a little bit early, but things might. I mean, if you look at this here, right? Caleb Williams, Devon Achane, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Brock Purdy. So, who would you? Yes, you would have taken Achane there for that pick 22, in your opinion.
Yeah, I think Achane would have been fine there. And then come back with I would still probably come back with Collins. And then in round 4, what were the quarterbacks? Yeah, then you would have been stuck with, you would have had, that's the thing, you probably would have had to take a quarterback there. So maybe in hindsight, it probably worked out. When you are picking on the ends, you got to really be cognizant. Here's the thing too, because this is best ball, the quarterback's going to go even a little bit earlier. I think in redraft, it's not like this. Redraft, you can wait. So I think you got to adjust your mindset, because in redraft, you can go to the waiver wire. There's always quarterbacks that come off due to injuries. So you can always find someone. You cannot do it here. So go back to the first 2 rounds. I want to see how many teams went double quarterback. It was 1, 2, 3. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you could wait till that 3rd round and get a Dak, Drake May is great. I mean, even actually round 4, I kind of like what, getting that Trevor Lawrence, JJ McCarthy. I think that's the way to go. But again, you have to make that decision, where you're picking. Bryce Young as your second is not awful. He had a really good second half last year and started to run more. So if he can keep that up, that's not bad. I mean, 2 is not great for fantasy. Even if they changed the philosophy, because last year what happened was they were throwing a lot of short passes to Jonnu Smith and Achane, and that's why Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle struggled. But that was the only year that he was doing that. So if that offense goes back to what it was, Tua could be decent. But again, he's never great for fantasy because he doesn't run. So yeah, I mean, you got to decide who you want as that second quarterback. Figure out where they're going, and then, have the plan accordingly.
My question to you, so Stafford, he went pretty late in my opinion. I guess it's fair value in the 5th round. I think he's a pretty high upside quarterback in the 5th round. I don't know what your thoughts are with that. I'm surprised Kyron Williams went so late. Why is he going in the 5th round? Because I feel like when he's on, he's on.
Well, I think people like other running backs better. So I was out on Kyron Williams last year, and obviously I was wrong because I had him the year before, but that was in the double-digit rounds. I was worried last year that the workload would catch up to him, and I thought they might involve another running back. Now, his numbers were better, but his efficiency was worse. So, but I was wrong, though, because he was able to hold up to the workload. Because if you remember, he missed 5 games 2 years ago due to injury, and he had a couple injuries in the offseason as well. So he's not a big back, but they stay committed to him. And I think maybe people are worried that they drafted another running back and, could he hold up once again? Because he averaged 4.1 yards per carry. He averaged 5 2 years ago. And they probably look at it and say, we don't want to overwork this guy. We want to lighten his workload. So, I mean, he's still going as what was he, the 12th, 13th running back off the board, I would say, right?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
So, I mean, it's kind of fair for that price.
Adam,
and it's super flex too. It's super flex too. So the 5th round is different.
That's true.
Adam, how do you sort out the Chargers running back room in a redraft league?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be Hampton as the season goes along, right? Because they drafted him. Now, the thing is with Najee Harris is he's one of those guys that coaches love. Fantasy players don't like him because he's not explosive, but he stayed healthy every year in his career, and he just does the little things that coaches like that fantasy players don't see, or they see it. It's just they don't want to acknowledge it because we want the big play. We want the explosive running back. We want the running back that's going to catch passes and take it 15, 20 yards. Najee doesn't do that. He just does a lot of good things. But I'd rather have Hampton, thinking that as the season goes along, you could really see him take off.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a look at some other players real quick. Is there any player that you potentially like? Is there a couple players that you're super high on this year that we maybe missed out on in this draft?
Yeah. I thought we didn't get we didn't get we did get Higgins, right?
Yeah, we got Jaden Higgins. Yep.
Yeah.
And we got T Higgins. We got them both, depending on who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. Overall it turned out solid. It's the clock that just was so quick. And,
crushed us a couple times.
We're in
George,
conversation. I know I could tend to talk a lot, and it's hard to see the board a little bit, and I don't have the queue in front of me because what I like to do when I draft, everyone's different. Some people use software. I'm an old school guy. I print out my rankings and I cross off names. I find that's best for me, and I wasn't able to do that here. So.
I do that every single year. Exactly.
Yeah, I think you always have to. It's very important when you're drafting to be comfortable. So everyone's different. Some people like draft software. Some people like to do it on their phone. I hate doing drafts on my phone. I just cannot stand it. I want to have my laptop in front of me, or, when I go to these drafts in person, I print out my rankings, and as everything, it's easy. Just cross off. I don't always go by my rankings either, and people who follow me and have my rankings, you shouldn't strictly go by it. Like if I have someone ranked 21st at receiver and you like the guy 23 better, you can take them. You don't have to strictly go by that. And I might also change it too. I might have the guy ranked 21 in like 4 of my last 5 drafts. Now I want to switch it up and diversify a little bit too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing too. If you are in a lot of leagues, early in the drafts, you want to diversify. Like if you have the number 1 pick 3 straight drafts, you don't want to take the same player. Imagine you did that last year and you went Christian McCaffrey all in. Now you got problems on 3 teams. So especially early on, I think you do want to diversify a little bit. I have no problem in the second half of drafts. If you're high on a player, you could take him in every draft. Like I said, 2 years ago for me, it was Kyrie Williams. Could you imagine if I said, well, I think Kyrie Williams in the last 4 drafts, let me switch it up. You'd be kicking yourself. So, and when you're talking the second half of the draft, a lot of those guys are not going to pan out anyway. You wind up cutting them a lot in redraft. So if you're high on a player, like last year, I was all over Tyrone Tracy. I just did not buy into Devin Singletary at all. Just didn't think he would keep that job. So Tracy, you were able to get in double-digit rounds. Jordan Mason was a guy I liked a lot last year too, because again, I didn't have faith in McCaffrey, and Elijah Mitchell always gets injured. I remember someone laughed at me when I took Jordan Mason in the 11th or 12th round of a high-stakes league draft last year, and this was in early August. And not saying I predicted McCaffrey's injury, but I was worried. Again, you could go look at his career, look at the massive workloads, look at the next year. He doesn't play much.
It's true. Absolutely.
George, can you see what the projected points are there for the league? Because usually you can. Just curious how our draft stacked up against the other guys drafted in that one.
I don't know how to do that. It says we have 2,808. Do you know how to pull up against the entire? I can search them one by one. I don't know if you can do all of them at one time. How do you do that?
Yeah, projections mean nothing anyway, man. Like,
that's true.
Yeah, I was just curious how it went.
Yeah, they were kind of middle of the pack.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there was a couple at 3,000. So
yeah.
Wait, there was let me see that team. They have Burrow, Murray, and how many quarterbacks? They had 4.
Where was it? Let me do one more. I think it was.
Yeah, that's why I think because that's the one thing we should have gotten maybe a better third quarterback. The problem with that is though, is there going to be a lot of teams that don't have that good third quarterback? What you need is
here we go. Burrow, Murray, May.
Yeah, they have 3 really good quarterbacks. But let me see the rest of their roster though.
Let's go down a little bit. The running backs aren't very good. Connor's okay.
Yeah, I mean, can he stay healthy another year? Jones and Mason kind of hurt each other. I think Mason might get more goal line carries than we think. Aaron Jones wasn't very efficient at the goal line last year. He's also a year older, and that was the most carries he had in his career. I don't think, so that could cut back.
Really?
So, yeah, I mean, they paid the price a little bit at running back. And what about receiver? Harrison's their one. Yeah, see, the receivers.
They're hurting a little bit too.
See, that's the thing. So you got to figure out, they got 3 really good quarterbacks. The problem is you're only going to get 2 of those every single week. And they took the elite tight end. I mean, the elite tight end. See, that's the thing, though. If you're going to take an elite tight end and 3 quarterbacks like that, it's going to leave you you better hit on a lot of those other players.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Oh, perfect.
Well, Adam, we appreciate you doing this today. We had a lot of fun, and we learned a little something along the way. Yeah, these drafts are always fun and interesting, and so we were glad you came on today.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And just remember, if that clock's 20 seconds to be ready. We were chatting a little bit too much, man. We need to be a little more focused.
It's all good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, guys, man.
Thanks, dude.
All right. Take care. See you, man.
Later.